Okay, so the plurality method seems easy enough to implement, but a major flaw is the ease with which results can be manipulated by one voter or a block of voters through something called insincere voting, or sometimes also called tactical voting. So in insincere voting, if we know that the candidate we really want has no chance of winning, then rather than waste our vote on our favorite candidate, we cast it for a lesser choice that has a better chance of winning. So if we go back to this math club election, how might some person or persons change their vote to manipulate the outcome of the election? Mm-hmm. The people voting for B could have put C in first place, and then C would win, right? Yeah. So those 4 people could do this. Take B and C and swap them, right? Now, why would they do that? C is their second to least favorite candidate. Why would they put C in first place? Because they don't want A to win. Because A is their least favorite candidate. And they're reading all the polls, right? And they're saying, looks like A is going to take this thing. And I really don't want A to win. So even though C is not my favorite, my top 2 don't have any shot here. So I'm going to vote for C. Put C in first place. Make sure A doesn't win. So the 4 people who voted for B could put C first to keep A out. Okay, so this is a major flaw of the plurality method. So has anybody seen any real cases of this tactical voting? Is this something that happens? Yeah. How explain? Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean that could definitely be like maybe people didn't particularly like Romney. However, some of the other candidates were just a little bit crazier, so they would vote for Romney. Like, you know, lesser of all evils. A lot of people think about Ralph Nader when we talk about this too. So some people who are not fresh out of high school might remember this. He is a Green Party candidate, and in the year 2000, very close election between Al Gore and the second George Bush, Ralph Nader took a very small number of votes, took them away from Al Gore. Because Al Gore was the liberal candidate, Ralph Nader was even more liberal, and if those people had voted for Gore, tactically, they could have gotten a liberal candidate. Okay, so one of the problems with the plurality method is that it encourages compromise voting. It encourages people not to vote for their favorite candidate. It makes them want to vote tactically. So because of this, the plurality method tends to lead to a really strict 2-party system where it's hard to get a third party involved, which is what happens in our own country's voting system. So now we're going to look at a completely different method for determining the winner of an election. It's called the Borda count method. It's used for the AP college football poll to rank the top 25 teams in the country. It has many, many other applications as well. So each candidate receives points for each vote they receive. And we give a candidate 1 point for a last place vote and 2 points for a next to last place vote, and so on. So for example, if there are 4 candidates, a first place vote gets 4 points. A second place vote gets 3 points, third place 2 points, and fourth place 1 point. So here's our math club preference schedule again. And let's just remember that A won when we used the plurality method. And I'm going to use Borda count to determine the winner. So let's start with candidate A. We'll calculate their point totals. So these 14 people put A in first place. There were 14 ballots with A in first place. So they get 4 points for each one of those ballots. So 4 points times 14 ballots. So they get 4 times 14 points. So 56 points. Yeah. And then these 10 people had A in last place. And a last place vote gets you 1 point. So each of these ballots, each of these 10 ballots gets them a point. So this is just going to be 1 point times 10 ballots. And then everybody else had A in last place too. So it's going to be 1 times 8 plus 1 times 4 plus 1 times 1. So 1 point for each last place vote. So 4 times 14, so that's 56, 66, 74, 78, 79 points total. Okay, and then candidate B. Let's see, these 14 people all had B in second place, and a second place vote gets you 3 points. Each second place vote gets you 3 points. So there are 14 people who put them in second, so they get 3 points for each of those 14 ballots, 3 times 14. And then in the next column, another 10 people had B in second place. So 3 points for each of those 10 ballots. And then these 8 people had B in third place. Third place gets you 2 points. So 2 points for each of the 8 ballots. And then these 4 people had B in first place. So that gets you 4 points for each of those 4 ballots. And then the last column, B is in third place. That's worth 2 points times 1 ballot. So 3 times 14, 42. 42 plus 30 is 72. Plus 16 is 88. Plus 16 is 98. Plus 6 is 104. Plus 2 is 106. Okay, why don't you guys take a couple minutes and see if you can calculate the point totals for C and D. I'll come around and help if you're lost. Okay, here. So C, these 14 people, it helps often if you put the point totals, just to remind yourself. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So C here is in third place, which means 2 points. 2 points for each of these 14 ballots. So we have 2 times 14 plus. And then the next column, C is in first place. So we get 4 points for each of those ballots, 4 times 10. And then in the next column, C is in second place, which is worth 3 points. So we have 3 times 8 ballots, 3 points for each of those 8 ballots. And then the next column, C has in third place. So that's 2 points for those 4 ballots. And in the last column, C is in first place, so that gets them 4 points for the 1 ballot. And what does that total to? 104. Great. And then for D, anybody have D done? 81? 81. Okay, so who is the Borda method winner? B. Winner. So a little check that you can do to make sure you didn't make an error using Borda is to add up all your points, and that should equal 10 times the number of voters. Okay, so how many people voted in this election? I think you told me a little earlier it was 37 voters. Okay, so if I add up all my Borda count points, it should add up to 370, 10 times the number of voters. So if I add up 79 plus 106 plus 104 plus 81, it should equal the number of voters times 10. Okay. So does that add up to 370? It does, yep. So it's just a little check you can do to see if you made a little calculation error somewhere. So what would the complete ranking of the candidates be if I had to name a first, second, third, and fourth place? B, C, D, A. Did the same person who won using Borda win the plurality? No, remember A won when we used plurality. So when we use Borda, we get a completely different winner. The Borda count method was originally developed by Jean-Charles de Borda in 1770. He was a member of the French Academy of Sciences, which is like a school. And they used this method to elect its members until Napoleon forced them to change it. So a little info on your first project. So your first project of 3 is going to be to conduct an election. You're going to draw up a preference schedule summarizing the votes, figure out the winner according to each of the 4 voting methods. We discussed 2 of them today. We'll discuss 2 of them on Thursday. So the first part of the project involves coming up with a topic and 4 options for your classmates to rank. So I am willing to print out your ballots and give you a few minutes of class time to have all your classmates fill out preference ballots. And then I'll give you the ballots in an envelope. So you'll have all the results. You just have to tally the winners. But in order to take advantage of this offer for me printing and collating all of your stuff, you need to email me your topic and your 4 options at least 3 hours before our next class on Thursday. So you email it to me. I will print out ballots and then you can have everybody vote on Thursday. And then you'll have all the data collection part of your project done. If you don't email me at least 3 hours before next class, you'll need to print your own ballots and find 20 people to fill them out outside of class time. So a sample topic with 4 options, just so you know what kind of thing I'm expecting you to email me, would be rank the following flavors of ice cream from best to worst. And then the 4 options: vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, cookies, and cream. So I want you to try to come up with a question and 4 answers so that you don't expect any one choice to be a runaway winner. Otherwise, it's just kind of boring. So remember, send me an email before next class. I'll get your ballots printed and you can have everybody vote. Yes. You can, yes, if you would like. Okay, so this is our first group activity. You've now learned 2 ways for You've learned about a preference ballot. You've learned how to summarize the results of an election in a preference schedule and how to calculate the winner of the election 2 different ways. So I would like you to work with your neighbors, discuss in your groups these 2 questions. I will come around and help with anybody who gets stuck.